Well, boys and girls, welcome to Bit Moto. As you can see, this is my first real ride on my new R1, coming off a 2012 CBR 1000, and I have to say this thing's a whole new animal. Look, I've been reading reviews for months and months, and when I was in the position to actually finally get it, there wasn't even one to test ride, and so I just ordered it, and yeah, it does not disappoint. It's got so much poke, it is ridiculous. And like my CBR it was no slouch. It was making 167 at the rear. It had an exhaust, it made it lighter, and I had rear sets, it was more comfortable. This thing's instantly out of the box, more comfortable, so much more power. The sound itself is intoxicating. It's a beast. And I've only tried it in power mode A, which is with power 1 on it, and the thing's insane. Like, there is no room for error at all. Like, yeah. Well, a little bit more about myself, I guess. I've been riding for about 10 years. Started with my grandfather. He was the original motorcyclist in our family, and you'd think he taught me everything he knows, but it was so frowned upon in my family to actually get your bike license, that I ended up going out and getting it myself through Ride Smart and up in Queensland. And yeah, so it's I've been riding now, for 10 years. I started on a Ninja ZX2R, one of the old ones. I bought it for like $3.5 back in 2008, and then I went straight to, about a year later, I went to a GSX-R 750 2008 model. And then I went to the CBR 1000R, and now to this. Well, that's insane. This is the first bike I've actually had with a quick shifter, and so straight away you know you've got confidence in the thing. Like, I haven't even scrubbed the tyres in, and I already feel like I can throw it around because of the technology in it. Obviously I won't do that, but yeah, it's a whole new animal, this thing. I'm actually on my way up to Tambourine Mountain up in Queensland. It's about halfway between the Gold Coast and Brisbane, and it's about 6:40 in the morning, and you might think I'm crazy, but it's like 13 degrees outside, and yeah, it's a beautiful time to go for a ride up here in Queensland at this time of year. Until you get into really winter months, it's not too bad. But yeah, so a little bit more back to my history of bikes. Like I said, I had a Ninja ZX2R. Funny enough, when I sold that, the guy who bought it off me, within 2 weeks, blew the engine up, and it was run silky smooth when I sold it. Then I went to a GSX-R 750, and I have to say, out of all my bikes, that was the one I regret letting go. Like, I do miss my CBR, but the novelty of this will keep me entertained for quite a while. It's just that 750 was such a perfect bike. It handled well. It had a little bit of poking off there, and for a bigger bloke, it's not too bad. But I can only imagine what the little person would have, like a little skinnier person would have felt. But this thing, again, hands down, is the most aggressive bike I've ever thrown my leg over. I'm speeding now, and I didn't even notice until I put my head down to look at the speedo. It is that quiet at speed and that aggressive that the throttle will just have you doing 115 without you knowing. I actually copped a warning from the missus before I came out on the ride. She's like, don't do anything stupid. I'm like, why would I do anything stupid to wreck the new bike? But you know, happy wife, happy life. You gotta tell them what they want to hear. But in saying that, like, I wouldn't have got it without her. Like, yeah, we're actually 5 months from getting married, and she allowed me to get a brand new sports bike. So I can't thank her enough. And yeah, I am just so amazed by this bike. I bought it from Ultimate Yamaha down at Slacks Creek, and unfortunately I was annoying them for about 2 weeks because I traded in my CBR, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, how long before I get the R1? And then straight away they're like, oh, we don't know. We have some in Australia, but it's first come, first serve, and yeah, so eventually I believe I got the last blue seat cowl and last blue R1 in Australia until the next shipment. And so yeah, like I said, I was emailing him, trying to get info off him when it was going to arrive. I was going stir crazy, man. It was, yeah. There was no two ways about it. I was going nuts. I was ready to just, I was getting the shits. It wasn't Ultimate Yamaha. It wasn't the dealer. It was Yamaha Australia and the distributor. They couldn't give the numbers out to the dealer, so I couldn't get anything finalized or anything like that. And then yeah, so here I was twiddling my thumbs, and twiddling my thumbs and getting shit done and trying to distract myself from actually not knowing that I can't go for a ride at any drop of the hat. But yeah, now it's here. It's, yeah, I'm over the moon, man. So yeah, I'm just heading up to Tambourine Mountain. Don't know, I might go longer, I'm not sure. I kind of feel like I can go for forever on this thing. The seat's firm, it's not exactly uncomfortable, but again, I've only just started riding it, so I'm sure after like 2 hours my ass will be bleeding like a champ, but the main thing I've noticed about this bike is the throttle. It is so aggressive on Power 1. So aggressive. The brakes aren't too bad. They're take a little to get used to. Like I had a Brembo RCS on my Fireblade, so that thing used to stop like a champion. This thing, it stopped brakes. You feel like there's a little bit of sponginess. Nothing braided lines won't fix. How that interacts with the ABS, I'm not sure. But I honestly cannot fault this bike at the moment. It is that advanced. Like the fly-by-wire, if I get it tuned eventually, which I'm hoping I will, it will hopefully adjust that. And hopefully hopefully it will adjust that, and hopefully it won't make it as pokey. Because that's pretty much what it is. It is pretty much just on the, you turn the throttle and you're doing 20 k's over already. It's just that aggressive. You have to kind of roll on the throttle. It doesn't have much free play in that regard. It's just, yeah, on the go. But again, it's a sports bike. It's meant to be ridden. It's meant to be doing not 80 k's an hour through an 80 k zone. It's meant to be on a track. It's meant to be singing its heart out. It's meant to be revving. I'm very keen to try the quick shifter. Not the quick shifter, sorry, the launch control. I have to obviously wait for the 1,000 kilometer service, but I'm very keen to see what that works out to be like. Like, the acceleration on this thing is just brutal as it is, so I can only imagine what it's like from a standing stop. So Mount Tamborine's really one of my local haunts, I guess. I always come up here. I've come up here ever since I've had bikes. I've had cars. Like before I had my CBR, I had a 1995 Nissan Skyline GTR, and that made about 500 horsepower, and yeah, that thing was just, that was a weapon. But I got bored, and like, riding's where my heart is, so it's, yeah, riding's a passion of mine that I shared with my grandfather, and my whole family have the bug. Like, the only one that doesn't now is my fiance, and hopefully I can persuade her into it. But it's certainly the life you're born into, really. Like, my mum, she doesn't like bikes. My dad doesn't like bikes. My grandfather does. Well, he did. He and I used to actually regularly go for rides. I own his bike now after he passed, and yeah, and then like my grandmother used to go for rides with my grandfather when she was my age. So there's pictures of my grandparents in their 20s out the back of Warwick on my grandfather's, I think it was an old AJS, and it's, yeah, it's definitely a family thing for me. Like my nieces, I bought them a Pee Wee 50 purely for the fact that I want them to know how to ride a bike. Like my mum and my sister and my mum and my sister were really the only ones I had growing up other than my grandparents. And my dad wasn't really in the picture, and so my mum was the sole parent, and we struggled. Like funny enough, as a family joke, because I'm a Blues supporter, but I'm from Queensland. I'm born and raised in Queensland, but I'm a Blues supporter for the New South Wales football team. The reasoning why was I wanted all I wanted was a football jersey. I didn't care who it was, all I wanted was a football jersey. So with that, my mum bought me a Blues jersey. And that was because they were cheaper than the Maroons jersey. So that's why I stay truthful to what I've been introduced to as a kid. Like, none of my family really follow football. We're more of a, like I said, motorcycle family. My grandfather, if he knew I got onto a Yamaha, he'd probably shoot me. But because he was a Honda boy, and coming from the Honda to this, there was no other jump. Like seriously, like I could have went to an S1000 RR, or I could have went to a an Aprilia RSV4 or even the 1299, but there's nothing that has this sound. Like the V4's got a different sound all its own as it is. The Caddy has a whole new sound as it is. The S1000 wasn't even really a contender for me, purely for the fact that ever since they came out, I've never been a fan. Like, yeah, they're advanced, they're fast, and all that jazz, but to me, if you want heated grips and cruise control, you get on a cruiser. Yeah, it's nice to have that commuting, but and I used to commute on my bikes all the time. Like my CBR, I had 17,000 Ks on that before I sold it. I owned it for 2 years, and it was just, you know, it was not at the point where it was broken down. I would have kept it if I had a big enough garage, but it also comes down to practicality, because I love the thing so much. How often would I ride it when I get the new one? Like, that's the thing. Like, it would just be put in the shed and pushed aside for Ava. It's yeah, it's definitely a practicality thing. Like, I'm a very sentimental bloke. I get accused of it all the time. And that's how I've got so much shit that has to, that essentially I need a garage for. Just because I got my great uncle's old 1972 Toyota Corona. It's in really good nick. It was my daily driven car for a while, but ultimately I just decided not to drive it purely for the fact it needs an engine rebuild. It's starting to overheat a little. It's spluttering, and yeah, it's definitely needing some love. So with that, I ended up buying a 12 Toyota Hilux and used that as my daily commuter, and then I lost all faith in it, and ultimately when my fiance and I got engaged, we kind of had to start future-proofing, and I'm in a very fortunate position financially that I could have bought I bought a new twin cab ute, and I was able to write that off for tax, and that way I could actually yeah, got that, and then future-proof, really. It's to stop for when I have kids, maybe. This is meant to be my last bike, actually, before we have kids. So, whether or not that actually happens, I'm quite convinced I'm shooting blank, so in that regard, it's, you know, not really nerve-wracking when it comes to motorcycles in that regard, but, yeah. So we're actually currently up on top of Mount Tambourine. I'm following this, looks like a Toyota Camry in a 60 zone, and it is quite difficult to stick to 60. I'm in second gear, and the throttle just wants to blip. It's just, yeah, it's all or nothing, this throttle. And for the average street ride, like if you're riding it every day or commuting, you'd probably be able to get used to it. Like maybe one of the other power modes will actually allow you to not have it so aggressive on the throttle. So this is Tambourine. Yeah, this is the top of Tambourine, rotary lookout, and this is my 2015 R1.